Hello and welcome to the T-Force LCS Rundown, episode 144. It's the first week of the LCS in North America and Europe.
Yeah.
Boom. There
was much rejoicing.
yeah, it's
the most blasé attitude. My God. And for such a packed house tonight, we not only have the original crew of Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Blake.
Oh, fuck, sorry, I was taking a sip of sweet Diet Coke.
Watching you scramble.
That's the fucking kind of episode this is going to be, ladies and gentlemen.
It's all good, though.
So
It's all good.
up.
You know, Diet Coke is brought to you by...
I'm here, too. Sean's here.
Yes, I am.
And joining us this week, for the first time ever, we have Cole.
Hello.
And we have Ian.
Hiya.
Much to the chagrin of many of people who submitted applications, these are the two fine gentlemen who I chose to join the LCS Rundown crew. If you are paying attention to our YouTube channel, you saw us in our fantasy draft, which happened early last week, I think. We got that up, or maybe around like Tuesday or Wednesday, which was pretty exciting. We're not going to go into detail for the show with that. That's just kind of something we're playing in the background. But man, oh man, this is a packed cast. This is going to be either terrible and the worst idea ever, and we're going to start voting people off the island.
In that same regard, Mott, just because things that are happening in the background but don't really matter to the viewers are going to be on the cast, I'm also drinking a lot more spinach smoothies now. Just so I'd let the fans know. It's not going to really be on the show, but it's something that is going on in the background.
Yeah, no, that's pretty neat.
Blake, as his next project for the T-Force Network, is actually going to be demonstrating all of these spinach smoothies he's been making.
Yeah.
He'll have his own little how-to YouTube series.
They're not.
It's
it's very simple. It's
that.
just spinach and water in a
it's all
magic
by the
bullet.
Fitbit.
It's a.
Don't
That's
forget
not
the
even a
Fitbit.
smoothie.
That sounds disgusting.
It's more
That's
of a.
just nasty.
It's more of a juice.
Yeah.
That's I can't
not
eat
even
salad
juice.
It's like a
because I'm a
pulp.
bitch.
It's really good though
God damn.
for your bones.
Speaking of juice, though, we're gonna get right into the magic here. Man, oh man, this was a week of LCS, wasn't it, boys?
It was. But first, can we talk about how close the fantasy was? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we just before we go into that?
Hold on, it's so crucially important that you fucking pay attention to this goddamn episode, because not just 1 minute ago I did say we're not going to talk about fantasy.
I mean, this means I get to spend more time on my spinach, right? I get to talk
But
about.
a point one, I just have to give some shit there for a point one and hand some salt over to Sean for this. I'm sorry, I have my babies. I love you. Now let's go.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, we had some really crazy performances by LCS teams this week. I don't think this week was anything what we expected it to be. There's a pie on the table and it's made of humble, and we're gonna be eating quite a bit of that.
What the fuck?
This week. So many different champions played. So many different individual players really having just stand out performances. It was really great to see, and I was really excited to see a lot of what was kind of going on throughout the week. Just really great. Where is Optimus Tom? It was really just. It was super exciting.
Did anyone else
That was
hear that?
Poppy Watch. It was Poppy
It is
Watch.
Poppy Watch.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
There it is.
Did I just hear something in parcel tongue?
Clicked in.
Hold on. No, are you guys?
There it
Are
is.
you guys hearing those fucking whispers?
What? No,
Okay,
you can't
no, this
whisper.
is fucked up. I swear to God, when Adam gave me the keys to the show, he said the show is fucking haunted, and I didn't believe him, but I've been hearing things all over this room, and it's really freaking me out now.
I'm leaving. This is
Now that you
ridiculous.
I've seen this video before.
Did you
all
hear this?
7 of them on Pornhub. I'm gonna leave. I don't want any part of this.
Me? The hero? Nah, that's ridiculous.
Speaking of frustrating champions to play against, Poppy's coming right in. At this point, but Weaver's Wall comes in, is instantly canceled. Chacha in the backside disengages the fight. Using the smite to pop the daisy. Chachi goes back. Hachani gets taken down. Unicorns of Love. Unicorns of Love taking a fight once again. Chachi's not even done yet. He goes in. He says, steal back. I saw you had least deaths last season. Let's mix it up.
The original puppy god in the top lane is Visit Chachi. He played it before it was cool, before it was reworked. He's also playing it now, obviously, and it's been very, very good.
Very strong, and Hachani, unfortunately, is not enough to 1v4 his way to victory. Game 1, gonna go over to the Unicorns of Love.
I don't know about you guys, but I just heard the DuckTales theme song for the last 13 seconds.
It's Poppy Watch 2017. I miss Optimus Tom in more ways than one, and it's only, I think, appropriate that our good boy Dracos was the one who casted us into the Poppy season of 2017. Very excited. But let's talk about North America this week, because we only had like a handful of games played in Europe, and we're going to hit that towards the end of the show, kind of a reverse in form for the LCS rundown. New show, new me. And we're going to split this up into a couple of different segments here for North America. We're going to first talk about the top tier teams, and then we're going to hit the middle of the pack at the moment, and then we're going to talk about the teams that didn't win so much. But before we get to that, I do want to talk about our first look in North America and Europe with the 10 champion pick ban phase. How do you guys feel like this played out in this first week of the League of Legends that we all love to watch?
So good. When were we getting this in solo queue?
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. I really enjoy it.
So I'm going to go a little bit against the grain, as I love to do, and say it was great when we first started because we got to see all these newer and interesting comps. We weren't seeing all these OP champions like, you would assume would be able to get through in a 6-ban system. But now it feels like we've already started to settle into a very clear meta with very clear optimal picks once those OPs are banned away. And now I actually don't know how those OPs change the game because they don't get picked. I think we had, one Camille pick?
Yeah, from UOL.
Yeah, we had one Camille pick in Europe, which did win the game.
It was dominant.
Yeah, Rengar
that was it.
Rengar was similarly banned in Europe, but not as successful, losing its one game it went through.
Yeah, the one game it got picked, it lost.
Right. Just to throw some numbers at this, by the way, for the uniqueness of champions.
Still, Sean, it would be just as stale with 3 bans as it is, as you're saying it is with 10.
I still won't call it stale, though. Like, there's 46 champions picked in 14 games in Europe, and 52, I think 51. 51 if you don't count Camille. Picked in North America. So, like, there definitely were some one-off picks that snuck through there. I just love watching how the bans developed, where you have that sort of second round of ban phase in the middle. You kind of get to focus in those bans on those 2 specific lanes that haven't been picked yet, and it really makes the power of the flex be really exciting.
Yeah, that's where I agree with you on that, because I see what Sean's saying. If all 5 of them are at once, it'd be one thing, but the middle of the pack ban, I think, is the more like crucial thing to it. Like I just don't think
I don't think we've seen the teams really adapt to it well enough. I think we're going to see another, like the next week or two, we're going to start to see the better organizations and teams being able to really utilize that. We saw it in some of the last series this past weekend when teams would actually start to really prioritize specific picks on the opposite side. They'd be like, okay, they haven't picked a support yet. Neither have we. However, we know we've got, the first pick coming out of the ban phase. Let's make sure we get rid of MF and Zyra. Then we can force them to either get rid of Malzahar. So it's really cool to add that element right into the middle of it. And I think it's just going to get boring and very stale probably next week and the following week. And then we're going to see it really pick up again as people are seeing not only what is strong once you get rid of the OPs, but who is actually good at these other kind of stranger picks. Like Looper, you got to know he's going to be able to pick Singed, and Singed isn't half bad right now. In fact, I think he was pretty damn dominant on it when he did pick it.
Yeah.
So,
LCK has been loving Singed too.
Yeah. So we're going to see a lot of those things come in. And so I think we're going to see a lot more targeting bans in that second phase. Maybe in the first 3 picks on your side, forcing your opponent to not pick one of their really OP champions that isn't going to get banned normally in that first 3, and then you ban it in the next 2, and then they've got to scramble. So we'll see some more stuff coming out of that. I just don't think it's going to be very useful for most teams for at least the next week.
Well, I mean, it adds a whole other layer of complication. I mean, you only saw like 2 teams, I think, the whole weekend that really sort of utilized the new picks and ban system, like Dignitas and C9. We'll talk about that game later on.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's really putting a lot of pressure right now on the coaches and on the analysts to figure out how to use this new system intelligently, because it really does add so much more to the whole shebanger,
Yeah. I really appreciated how Immortals used their game 2 ban phase against TSM. Or was it game 1 where they actually didn't ban and missed one completely because of communication issues and not fully understanding. The timers were definitely a factor. I think, was it like a G2
Immortals
game or the UOL game? No, I know it was Immortals who made the fumble, but God, who's the European team where they actually got the remake?
In Europe, they didn't pick anything because he forgot that the timer was only 30 seconds now.
Right.
And it auto-locked Shaco.
Yes.
It just picked a random champion.
That would have been,
I don't know, man.
Incredible.
GBM, he could do it.
They should have had to have done it. That's the rules of the fucking game, boys. Grow up. We're in the adult world now.
Yeah, that was G2 and expect.
Cole, did you any particular team that you think utilized the pick ban particularly well that you were impressed with?
I think UOL did, and in fact, I like the way the pick ban has kind of evened out and balanced out both sides of the map, because last year we saw a lot of, you get red side, you kind of automatically lose. This year we've seen just about an evening out of wins between both sides, and UOL, they got red side, which is usually a side which is hard countered in pick ban phase, and literally was able to pick counters for almost every single lane. They picked Lulu into Malzahar. They countered the top lane. I think so far they've used it best in Europe. I don't know about throughout the entire League of Legends Western scene, but I know UOL for sure.
They did only play a series against Vitality, so
true.
Yeah, we don't have too much data out of Europe yet, but
still, I mean, what's kind of cool though too is it allows teams to really ban out, like for example, not Faker an example because you can't ban out Faker, but teams that really rely on one solo person to really carry. Like for example, as a CLG fan too, it sucks because Hui is only good on like 2 champions. You can just straight up ban Hui out with 5 bans. You can afford to do it. But it's just that's kind of an interesting side that we'll see, I think, for a while.
It's funny you say you like can't ban out Faker. He's got too deep of a champion pool. That now kind of highly depends on how much on what SKT does in their, or any team does in their pick ban. Because if you leave, the 2 roles that you pick down towards the bottom, you're basically opening yourself up to these 2 are going to have obviously the bans from the first phase, any picks that came out in the first phase of picks, and then a whole second tier of bans that can potentially get applied to you. So if you leave those top tier picks down towards the bottom for some of your best players, you're opening up the door to getting to additional specifically targeted bans. And it just adds a really interesting dynamic, and I don't think we're done seeing this develop. Like, week 1 was nothing compared to what we're going to see by week 8. And it just makes you even more excited for the summer, where the games feel a lot more important. But let's talk about the importance of those games, because we had just, in both regions, like a batshit crazy week. And I think we would be remiss to not talk absolutely first about the team that maybe we most underestimated.
I never doubted them for a fucking second.
I had them. I think I put them 4th, I believe.
Yeah, well, you weren't on the show, Ian. You're a part of the us now. You fucking hated Fly.
Ian, you matter to me. You matter to me more than any of these guys already, baby.
We all put them dead fucking last.
Can I just start off by saying Blake's on top of the fucking moon right now? I got 2 Cloud9s in the LCS now. both of them are in the top 2 right now. And I got a brother in the league as well, in Laud, who's also doing supremely well. I feel like things are. I'd like time to stop, And for
Everything's
the
coming up
LCS
Blake.
just to stay like this.
Okay, Blake, as a CLG fan, let me tell you, it doesn't stay like that. It doesn't stay
As a
like that,
CLG
brother.
fan, you don't get an opinion.
Yo, you know what I just realized? Freaking FlyQuest should just name themselves Quantic. And then it just would have been the old C9 name.
Yeah.
That would actually been incredible. Or they should have named themselves
come
like
full
D,
circle.
like D10 or something.
Yeah, like that's like a great idea.
I did simple.
Or
I did
B8.
simple. Did you see what I did there? Was I took the letter that comes after C and the number that comes after 9. It was very complex.
I think B8 would have been a little bit better because they're the originals.
Yeah. Talk to me about
I
High.
think both.
I will talk to you about fucking High. Holy shit, High. Everyone had. So the question with High coming into this split was, I mean, last time we saw High, he was pretty much relegated to just sort of his shot calling was still solid. We knew he was going to probably still have that coming in, but I mean, the last time we saw him, his mechanics weren't exactly stupendous. Not that they ever really were. I mean, he hasn't been playing carry champs for years, but coming in, he's coming back into mid lane with this roster that needs some strong players and some strong skill, and High came out the fucking gates swinging this week, man. I think he got 2 player of the games. He went 10-1 on Corki. He's undefeated on Corki so far. How many Corki games did he play? Was it like 4?
3.
And he's just coming out like a goddamn beast. Their issue right now as a team is definitely in their early game. How could it not be when you have Balls, arguably the worst top laner in the league, on your team? Balls just getting slapped around. But once they get a lead, they look almost like the old Cloud9 did. It's actually kind of eerie. I had some nice nostalgic shivers because High's shot calling is just like watching a beautiful. It's like watching a beautiful dance.
Well, I'll challenge you then. Talk to me about strength of schedule because you have Envy, who
that's what I was going to say.
They were right down there with FlyQuest, not a super high tier. And you have Dignitas, who we had a lot of hope for and made it an interesting.
No, they played Liquid. Well, we'll start off with no.
I was looking at Cloud9. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And Liquid, which doing really well this week. Otherwise,
yes. Well, that's strength of schedule. Of course, is very important. Not only were they facing Envy, who everyone pegged as being the shittiest team in the league, but Envy was also playing with like a bunch of like people were swapped.
Yeah, Ninja Jungle and
Alex Ish was in the middle. But I mean, FlyQuest 2 owed them. I mean, the games weren't exactly competitive. There were some moments that were kind of exciting, but other than that, it was a pretty simple. It wasn't too. I think that's fine. I think that we can take from that match and go, well, FlyQuest definitely looked better than an Envy roster with their whole team fucking jumbled around. But then the one that's more important is Team Liquid, because Team Liquid slapped CLG all over the goddamn floor. And then that was a fun series that FlyQuest versus Team Liquid won. But again, once they got that lead, they held on to it and they moved around the map just like we knew High would be able to make his squad do. Lemon Nation is what, 49 now? 51? The boy is a goddamn legend.
I think, is his great-granddaughter, has she been born yet?
I think so.
She's still...
I am so stoked to see his smiling fucking face back on my screen again. It's like...
Wait, you mean...
Yeah,
the nodding face, right? The smirk and the nod. Yeah.
I'm glad that you clarified that because I can see you doing that face on Skype.
I realize
How do you think they're going to do against C9 though?
How are they going to do against C9?
Yeah,
well, they're going to get thrashed. They're going to get thrashed by C9.
Yeah.
C9's looking really strong right now, but that's a different.
Hold on. Yeah, that's a different conversation. Let's actually talk about what next week looks like, just to kind of round off the conversation, because we got a whole lot of teams to go through.
Yeah.
You have CLG next week, and you have Echo Faux.
I think that's actually going to be a really exciting weekend. I think it's still not a hard weekend. Although, I mean, you do have people like Acadian on Echo Fox, who is absolutely going to give Moon an issue, some trouble, because Moon is not exactly the greatest jungler on the planet.
Moon's still Moon.
Exactly.
Still Moon.
Which also comes back to the issue they're going to have with getting leads in the early game, because you do have Balls, you do have Moon, and you do have, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on their AD carry. Alltech, yeah, they do have Alltech, and Alltech's not as supreme as we once thought 3 years ago or 2 years ago. But I think that they will be able to handle CLG. CLG's just not looking on top right now on top form. I think they definitely will sort their shit out, but just not yet. And I think FlyQuest is looking like they have a game plan. They know what they want to do going into a match. And then the Echo Fox game I think is going to be a lot of fun, but it's going to ride down on that jungle, I think. And I think Acadian's just been looking so good. I mean, the fact that the casters they put him in the OP5 and he was 0-2. The team went 0-2 this week. I mean, that should say something about how good this kid is. But I think it's going to be an exciting weekend. I mean, I want to see if High can continue this streak, because High had the highest damage share on the team in the whole league, and then he also had the highest DPM of the league as well, damage per minute. So he's just super dope. I'm stoked.
Yeah, the highest.
Let's continue to move right along.
Duffy,
the rosters
when your team's
here.
in first place, maybe I'll give you a little bit more time, baby. Maybe I'll give you a little bit more
It's
time.
way more interesting. If we're gonna talk about one of the C9s, let's talk about the decent one.
Let's talk about C9 proper here, which hopefully FlyQuest will be able to distinguish themselves against their former moniker. I think they will. But Ian, talk to me about the Cloud9.
All right, so my boys in blue looking strong, right out of the gate. Jensen just looking like a monster in game 1, 5-0 on Fizz, just like absolutely everything I expected from him. And then game 2 versus TSM, Contracts comes out, just pops off on Lee Sin. He got like, I think 8 kills. It was like, he did so well. And in C9 versus TSM just looks so clean.
Yeah, it's funny, you keep saying C9 against TSM and I just can't, like, you say the words and then it just kind of puffs into dust. I don't remember any of that. It's weird. TSM had a European schedule and only played 1 series. I don't remember any of that.
Well, I don't even know if you want him to have played the fucking Immortal series either.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Fuck you, Grant. Fucking Cole's on my side with TSM. We're fucking riding this, but keep talking to me about
Whenever
Cloud9.
someone brings
we'll
up
get there.
TSM, I just black out.
Well, if you don't want to hear about TSM, I can tell you about the Dig games. They
what a series though.
That series was a good series. In my opinion, that was the best series played over the whole weekend throughout between NA and EU. Like those two teams actually looked incredibly clean. Game 1, C9 found this like incredible team fight in top lane at around like the 30-minute mark where Jensen ulted back on Echo and like insta-gibbed 2 people. And completely turned the game around. And then
it made me so moist.
Oh yeah.
So moist.
Yeah, and then like game 2, Dig fires back. They had not high. Man, you got me thinking about old Cloud9 now.
Oh baby, get
Jensen.
it.
But no, Jensen had a less than stellar game on Azir, and C9 dropped that one, but they came back strong in game 3, and Smoothie on Taric just had one of the best games from a support that I've seen in so long. His Taric ults were like the best part about that game by far. So good. And so C9, their synergy from day 1 looks really good. It doesn't look like they have any issues with kind of when High left, communication issues. They've got all that worked out now. And now they have a really strong jungler to replace Meteos. And
yeah, I was gonna ask you about Contracts and how you thought he did on his first week.
Yeah, I personally think that he looks very, very good with a lot of potential, but he needs to learn to not. I think he got very overconfident in the Dig series because he did really well versus TSM, and I think he kind of got into his head. It was like, oh yeah, like I'm really good. I know what I'm doing. Let's just push it to the absolute limit. And he pushed it a little too far and got caught out a few times. So I think once he gets that experience and becomes a more mature player, I think that he will for sure be like top 3 junglers in A, hands down.
So I'm kind of impressed by Cloud9's performance in this first week, because I think if you look at most other teams, you can't really pick a worse opening series. You have TSM, who was supposed to be, still a pretty top tier caliber, but we'll get into that later. You've got Dignitas, who is ranked very high. And next week, you've got Immortals, who, I mean, yes and no. And you've got CLG, and that's even a maybe. But it's like, it's the highest yes and no and maybe that you can get in the league right now. How are you feeling about this week 2 roster?
Week 2, I'm not too worried about it. Like, from what I've seen, most of the teams just look really disorganized, to put it.
Yeah.
Like,
early season jitters.
Yeah, early season jitters. Like, a lot of them have new rosters, and so they're still building communication with each other. And C9 doesn't have any of those issues. Like, they have contracts, but it doesn't seem like they have any communication issues, really. Ray, when he played, he didn't look as on the same page as like Impact did. Whether that's because he's not Impact, like Impact is just incredibly good, or because of communication issues, will be seen later, I guess. But overall, I don't like C9. I think just because they are so together and on the same page, I think that alone will be able to carry them through week 2. And then putting like Jensen and Sneaky on top of that, like I think C9's gonna.
We're looking really good now.
I think they're sitting clean on the top of the standings.
Yeah.
At the end of week 2.
Yeah, I think Cloud9 fans could be awfully happy about, especially when compared to how everyone else is doing.
What's your
they
guys'
can feel pretty
thoughts
happy
on
about that.
On the Ray pull-in?
Okay, so Ray, I want them to keep playing him. I think what they did versus Dig was smart. They played him and then they played Impact whenever it was game 3, because he needs that experience. Because from what it looks like, Ray is going to be like their future top laner whenever Impact leaves and probably goes back to Korea. And so I want them to keep playing him, but I don't want them to play him so much that they end up losing games off of it. Because like we saw last year where CLG got to Worlds off of the championship points, like Spring Split really does matter now.
Right.
It's not as blow off as it used to be. So I think C9 should keep getting him experience, just not to the point where it ends up costing them games.
Cool.
Don't bunny foo-foo it.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly.
Let's just get it out of the way where we talk about TSM.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because they're we're moving sort of into the 1-1 middle ground. Oh boy, it's going to be like TSM fans, huddle up for a second. Boys, it's going to be a long fucking split.
Yeah, huddle up real quick. Get really close together. Really close.
So let's talk. Well, let's talk about what's successful and what's not successful with the TSM roster. What is successful is that Bjergsen can still have a standout performance despite a lot of attention being put in other lanes, which usually focuses him to have to like fully step into the carrier role. He can still do that. Biofrost still mechanically seems to be doing well in the face of the loss of Double Lift. There was some concern there that maybe like
in
a
the face
dumpster
of the
fire
loss of Double
that he has to deal with.
Tell that to the Taraki alted as Malzahar.
Okay. That's yes. There were questionable calls made. Okay, I'm going to be the first to point it out. But there were lots of good plays that he had. He still looked like he was in pretty good form. But TSM as a whole right now is in a whole heap of trouble.
This is just Mont nicely dancing around how much he hates Wild Turtle.
Yeah, really? Wild Turtle. Okay, so Wild Turtle, when you look at the numbers, Wild Turtle had some like pretty decent games. Like there were moments where he was jumping in and getting like triple kills, double kills, like cleaning up all this gold for the team. And you're like, oh man, Wild Turtle can really pop off. And then you spend 20 to 30 minutes of the game watching him get caught out of the fucking nothing. Just like, why are you there? Why are you where you are? You shouldn't be
Wild
there.
Turtle.
All I was watching was just watching Sven Skaren just put the team on his back, like, Wild Turtle, you are so heavy, but I can steal Baron, so it's all fine. Like, just get on.
Like,
Come on, buddy.
I would rather have them offer Cutie Pie $1.5 million and some shampoo to play than play with Wild Turtle.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it was with Sean or Blake, for an entire day I argued that Wild Turtle the fact of him losing bot lane was causing it to bleed out into other lanes because you saw versus C9, bot lane, they lose their sums, they lose all their sums, and then C9 just floods TSM's bot side jungle.
This wasn't with me because I fucking think them picking up Wild Turtle is the stupidest thing on the fucking planet.
And on top of that, just whoever they have shot calling just needs to. I know Bjergsen's one, but if they have whoever else it is, like Sven Skaren, they just need to stop. Some of these calls are just so questionable.
I have to go back and really watch the comms because they keep compared to some other teams, which we'll get to when we talk about the Immortal series. TSM can stay pretty calm on the mics. They don't get too puffed up. I think it's probably Bjergsen. I didn't watch all the post game stuff, so I didn't get to really see if there were any breakdowns. But yeah, like this is going to be a roster that probably isn't going to be super successful in spring, and it's going to take some time to develop. And honestly, it's probably going to be the triumvirate and entirely expected return of Doublelift at some point when he like the reluctant hero comes back, dragged back into the LCS, watching Wild Turtle just fall out, probably like week 6 or week 7.
Yeah, here's the scenario: they're going to be losing games in a row, and Wild Turtle's going to have a moment like at IEM Oakland where he flashes over wall as Jin, tries to get a kill and dies for 1v4, and then Reggie's going to be like, you know what, it's over. Doublelift, we need you back. We'll pay you however much, and they're just going to dump Wild Turtle off on the street with his luggage and be like, "Go find a home."
Do you think Doublelift? Do you think Doublelift's like sitting at home right now, just like stroking it? Like he's like watching.
This is what Doublelift's waiting for. Like
he loves this.
Every time Reggie like walks by his door, he's going to pop out his head. Oh hey, did you say something about coming back? No. Oh, okay. All right, that's fine. Hey, I'm here. I'm here for you.
Is Doublelift still living in the house while he's not playing?
He doesn't even do that.
I think so, yeah.
He doesn't even do that. All he does is pop his head out the door and go, 1.5 million, and then pop his head back. And the next week, 2 million. And then pop his head back.
Every time that Wild Turtle dies, it's another 0 at the end of Doublelift's paycheck.
Yeah, seriously.
He's going to own TSM next week.
He's a billionaire now. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I don't want to harp on it too much because it is only 1 week. Like they may bounce back week 2. We'll take a look at the schedule really quick for them. It's going to be another toughie. You've got Dignitas and you've got Liquid. This has the potential of being an 0-2 week. It really does. I think Dignitas may make the same mistakes that Immortals did, where the game will come to the coin flip of a single team fight, which is where the Immortals series really broke down. And I'll leave that conversation to Immortals later on. Because
thanks, Mod.
Yeah, talking about it twice isn't going to be fun.
No.
But Liquid, like with how tight they were looking, is going to be a toughie, I think. Like it wasn't a perfect week out of Liquid, but it was good enough to make me concerned. TSM fans, just hold on. Just hold on. Put your faith in Hans.
Hold on to what you got.
You actually have TSM fans. You have two Cloud9s to choose from now to hop on over to.
Seriously,
right? The water is very warm. I assure you, it's great.
Yeah, I do want to move.
Stop peeing in the water, Blake.
All right, I do want to move on to Liquid. So Sean, why don't you talk to us about our other boys in blue?
All right, so Liquid, they looked like a Liquid team, a standard team Liquid in that, but like extremes. So when they played CLG, they played exceptionally well. Lorlo was a monster. Rainover was controlling the map. Golden Glue was showing up for the most part, although there were plenty of times when he had some should have been much larger than they actually ended up being, mechanical errors. The one I would say didn't really look that good that series was Piglet. I really was not. I don't think Piglet looked good the entire weekend, and I assumed he would be the best performing member outside of Rainover. But they looked good. They looked cohesive. They were able to have a game plan and then execute the game plan. And that was something that Team Liquid had never been able to do before, I don't think. They were able to be aggressive and dictate the tempo of the game. They were able to do a lot of things that Liquid had never been able to do before. They were playing on the side of the map that they had never played on before. Piglet was getting ignored a little bit, which probably explained why his scores just in general weren't very good, although I think his KD ended up still being okay. Matt didn't play super well either. But so the game against CLG, was very good from Liquid. The first game, they were just a better team overall. The second game, they drafted a much better team fighting comp into what CLG picked was a very pre-30-minute comp where they had to basically win under that 30-minute timer. Otherwise, Lorlo was going to get way too tanky on Nautilus, and the game was going to be over. And Liquid just kind of turtled it out. They took resources. When CLG would go in for a pick, which is exactly what their comp's supposed to do, they get 2 kills. Liquid would make sure they got 1 back. And so CLG was never really actually able to get to a critical mass or a point when they could just roll over Liquid before Liquid scaled back up. So that was very well played from Liquid. They looked so much better than I think they've looked in a long time. Really impressive. And then, of course, with Liquid, things could not be so good for so long. And they played against C9 White, I think is what we're going to call them, or should we call them C9 Blue?
No, it's C9 Blue is the original. C9 White's the C9 White is FlyQuest.
Okay, so C9 White and FlyQuest. And, well, things weren't quite as good. I believe this went to 3 games, right?
The FlyQuest game?
Yes.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. And some of the same mistakes came up again. Golden Glue was really suspect. Piglet was getting picked apart. Rainover made a whole bunch of uncharacteristic mistakes, especially when you got to Game 3. I think Rainover went 0-6 in Game 3 on Rek'Sai. It was just all around not good. And when you're getting out jungled by Moon, especially when you're supposed to be the best jungler in NA, if not the entire LCS, that was a bit of a shock. And they really looked like the Liquid of old. They were scrambling. They didn't have a good plan. It was incohesive. The picks were coming through were kind of strange. Putting Golden Glue on Azir is a very interesting choice, especially when you know High has a preference for Corki, which is going to shove the shit out of an Azir until Azir can start clearing waves a lot better. And he's never going to get to that point. So the drafting really fell off from Liquid. And I don't know if it was because of champion pools alone, or what the deal was, or they really just thought they were going to be able to brute force their way through a FlyQuest team that had already beaten them once this series. It was a really return to form for them, where they looked much more floundering than they did against CLG the entire series.
Yeah.
So I think they looked good. I think we still see them being a top 5 team at this point. They demonstrated a lot of positives, but they also showed that they have a lot of growth that needs to happen.
Do you think you could put them at I don't know, maybe 4 right now?
So if I were to say it, I'd say they'd be somewhere between 5th place and 3rd place.
Yeah, kind of right, split the difference.
Yeah, probably not 3rd place or 5th place, but right in the middle between those two.
Yeah, right at 4th, right where they belong.
Yeah. That would be 4th.
Talk to me really quick about next week. You've got TSM and you've got Phoenix 1.
So I think the TSM series is going to be really, really good because this is going to demonstrate what the difference is between these two teams, how they bounce back from what would be normally for TSM a very disappointing week, and for Team Liquid a week in which they should have done a lot better. I think they're going to be kicking themselves for losing that FlyQuest match. I think if you want me to guess, I would guess TSM wins it.
Thank you.
Just based on...
I appreciate that a lot. It really it helps me. Helps me.
Based on individual star talent. And I do think that TSM is much better because Team Liquid still has not demonstrated the backroom staff that you really need in order to create an atmosphere where you can learn from your failures and build upon success. I think TSM has that already because they've done it for years.
Right.
So I think TSM's going to take it. And then the next series is...
Phoenix 1.
Phoenix 1. Phoenix 1's... They got star talent, but that's about it. I think Liquid should win, which means they won't. But
big words. Let's talk about Phoenix 1. Chris, take me there.
It was surprising, to be completely honest. The Fox series was strange, to say the least. Basically, actually, what it kind of comes down to, a lot of his Ryu's okay. I actually was expecting him to be pretty terrible in all of these series, and he seemed to actually play decently well. Definitely better than he did on H2K, I thought. But it's not like he was going against the best teams in the world. But for the Fox series, most of this is on Fox, I'd have to say. So in this very first game, so they 0-2'd Fox, which was not surprising. But what was surprising is how they won. That if you go through the entire team gold advantage in a 38-minute game, they won with only an 8-minute long total gold advantage, which was not even near the end of the game. So it was pretty much just Fox just throwing, which is completely acceptable for Fox, for exactly what we expected to have happen with a game or with Keith on your team. But this was a clusterfuck of a series, like these two games together like this. It was basically pretty much who could throw the game harder than each other. But it did look like that Phoenix won. I do agree with Sean that they do have some star talent on it, and they have potential. But where they're going to go is completely unknown. But then, actually, or at least that's what I was thinking by the end of this Fox series. But then when you actually get closer to the Dignitas series, this was a lot more back and forth, which was a lot more surprising to me, because I definitely ranked Dignitas higher than Fox. I think Dignitas is a sleeping terror in this sort of NA LCS. I think they can really go off. And that's what it looked like at first. First time they lost pretty decisively. I mean, it was a decently long game. They got 38 minutes against Dignitas. It was very back and forth. Dignitas did end up closing out the game pretty easily, though, versus game 2 was a very interesting game at 52 minutes and 4 seconds. What a hell of a long game with only a 5K goal difference. 90K for was the victors of Dignitas and 85K for P1. So definitely like very, very just kind of, I don't know. These were just interesting games to watch. But Phoenix won, I guess, to kind of just quickly sum, because I don't think they're really worth talking about that heavily, because they decisively lost the third game against Dignitas. But because it's just like Zig is just like he either goes off or he gets completely crapped on. He doesn't have the consistency of some of these other top laners that they do. But I guess the emphasis of it was Ryu did seem capable of carrying this team, especially with Arrow and Adrian backing him up like that. Like Adrian getting crapped on in the third game of, dying 8 times, being typical Adrian, what I expected him to do. But I guess they played significantly better than I assumed them to. I thought they were going to do pretty terribly and kind of get steamrolled over and be a Fox 2.0 of where it's like, cool, we can play the game, but we don't know how to win the game, which is exactly what Fox did in that first series. It's like, we're ahead. What do we do? But Ryu just kind of can do stuff. So it will be interesting. I think the Liquid game will be interesting. I do think Liquid will probably beat P1 if they are playing like they were against CLG. But if they play a little bit worse, like how Sean was saying, if they go back against themselves, then I definitely think Phoenix has the just straight up raw talent to beat them.
What do you think about Envy in the other
matchup? Envy I think is just a steamroller. I don't think Envy... I can't say because they didn't even have their official team, but as if it was Envy of the same as last week, I think they're just a layover and die horribly team. But Phoenix 1 could shit the bed. It's got to be somebody, yeah.
Right.
But I actually thought Phoenix 1 was going to be closer to that, like closer to Envy of just like rolling over and dying horribly. But they did okay. But it was hard to say with just this week 1. We'll see if they can be consistent or if they play more like they did against Fox and having no idea what they're doing.
Yeah. So we've hit upon them a few times here, and I'm really excited to hear what you have to say for them, Blake. Talk to me about Dignitas.
Fuck, man. Well, first off, let's just go ahead and say black and yellow is probably the best color combination there is. It's very complementary. I like
black
it a
and
lot.
Gold, technically, but we'll roll with it.
All right, Mott. I mean, that's how you want to go.
I was agreeing.
Well,
but
you weren't. You said gold, but whatever. Okay. We were talking earlier about early split jitters, and of any team, you would kind of expect Dignitas, a team who just sort of came back into the LCS, as being rebought by the 76ers and just a whole new roster coming together, all these people. You'd think that they might have some warming up to do, but that was not the case. I mean, as we said over this the episode so far, Dignitas looked fucking clean, man. They looked really good. And I mean, people were expecting that coming in. I mean, what with Someday and Chaser, Xpecial is obviously a nice solid rock, and then you have obviously everyone knows how much faith I have in my boy Lod, and he's proving it.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of really positive community feedback right now.
Yeah, no, he's getting a lot of feedback, positive from everywhere. I mean, the casters
those
can't
reaction times.
Oh, buddy, he flashed so many arrows.
all right, we get it.
Okay, so basically, that P1 series was quite back and forth. It was, but again, I don't think that P1 played bad. I don't think Dig played bad. I think P1 played better than expected, as a matter of fact, and I think that's why it was a back and forth series. And Laud ended up getting player of the game in that series, so just Laud mentioned that. And then, as we talked about, the Cloud9 series was absolutely, in my opinion, the best of the whole weekend in the West. It was just the cleanest. It was the cleanest, seeing two teams that actually looked clean. The drafting is something that we didn't really touch on with Cloud9. Their drafting looked stupendous. Like they were one of the two teams and UOL now we know about that really utilized the new drafting, and Dig did that as well. Their pick ban was like awesome, and I think that the casters mentioned that this is going to be one of those series that other teams are going to go back to look at to sort of learn how to utilize this new pick ban phase, because these two teams really seem to get it. They were able to do some really creative things with it. What's really interesting about that Cloud9 Dig series, though, is that we get to see them in week 1, and we're not going to get to see them again until week 9, I think. So it's going to be a whole split of growth for both of these two teams. They're already looking so promising coming into the start of the split. And next time they meet, we're going to see where they really end up sitting. I'll just gush a little bit. Someday, obviously, he's coming in. I don't know. There could have been some questions about Someday for some people coming into North America. Doesn't really speak English at all. But no, he was just fucking styling all over kids. He got player of the game twice. He just looked really, he looked like Someday. I don't really know what else to say. Really happy Keen not doing as many crazy things. He did pull out, what was that pick he pulled out? That was strange. It'll come to me. But he's still doing what Keen does, and I think that's a nice flavor to add. Ben flashing those arrows like out of fucking Fog of War, just flash in, just sidestepping. Ben doing incredibly consistent damage on the backline in team fights, doing exactly what an AD carry has to do. His early game, they on farm a lot coming out of laning phase, but his team fighting was pretty much impeccable. No, this team looks fucking awesome. I'm stoked about it.
Do you think they continue their success into week 2, though, with games against TSM and Fox?
I do. I think TSM's looking shaky right now, and I think Dig really has this shit figured out. I think they're really going to do it in draft. I think they're going to just stomp all over them, and I think Wild Turtle is going to get absolutely slapped around by Laud. Like, absolutely slapped around.
I guess, like, it's kind of a weird question to ask week 1, but, like, who's better than Dig right now?
Cloud9.
C9.
Yeah, I think C9 is really the only one.
I'd argue that FlyQuest isn't even better, but they're probably very close.
I think
C9 and potentially FlyQuest.
I think C9 is definitely number 1 in the league looking right now after 1 week. They're looking really fucking good. I think I would put Dig as a second for sure.
Cool.
So who said that? The two best teams? C9 and Dignitas?
I think I did.
I think I did too. Pretty sure I did.
Odin, I appreciate you bringing that up, buddy. I think you're a good guy, and let me just take it and say that you have a very full and lustrous beard, and I love you a lot. I do.
I'm trying to catch up I'm getting there. This is the longest my beard's ever been. I can't
You'll never
see
catch up
Odin
to Odin's
right now,
beard.
but I believe that it's
I like to pretend that icon of him here in
Skype. I think my beard's like 3 inches
actually
long
him.
now.
If you want to look at something in
Damn.
particular that was really dope,
I think my longest beard hair is probably about 3 inches.
the last play at the end of the Dig P1 series, where it was just Xpecial and Laud, and then they ended up doing Laud got a triple kill. Just watch that play. It's right at the end, right before they finish off the Nexus. Just go watch that play. It was fucking awesome. Made me cream my jeans.
I think what we're gonna need to do is we're gonna need to have like a Blake Hypes Laud YouTube series where like you just fucking react to every play that Laud did, good and bad.
Yeah, wait a second, Blake.
All.
I don't understand how you were able to cream your jeans, because I was under the impression that every time you see Laud on screen, you have to take your pants off anyway, just in case.
I mean, I think that's assuming pants are on to start with.
Yes, but to cream one's jeans, one must then put jeans on. So I know that the cream's coming.
Technically speaking.
Which came first, the cream or the jeans?
Fuck,
dude, we got a long way to go.
The most important questions. Yeah, we do.
I just want to point out, you could also be referring to jeans with G-E-N-E, in which case the creaming is already getting rid of it.
What's actually quite interesting is we were talking about those spinach smoothies before, and
oh god, Sean, talk to me about CLG before I fucking just lose it.
Step 1, take your spinach and put it in the magic bullet. Step 2, put on some jeans.
Stop. No more. Edit.
Step 3, turn on the magic bullet. Step 4, cream those jeans. And then you drink the smoothie or juice or whatever, pulp. Some might call
CLG. Hit me, Sean. CLG.
Yeah, hit us
this
with
is your
CLG,
moment.
Sean. You got 3 seconds,
Sean.
Well, if I were to hit anyone with CLG, the most they would feel maybe is a little tickle, a sweet little breeze going right by their face.
A light peck on the cheek, maybe.
Unless it's with
Yeah.
Big Dixie.
Yeah, you might feel a little tickling at the back of your throat with Big Dixie, but that's about it. Especially if you have him on fantasy.
Woo!
No, CLG. So they played against Team Liquid to start out the whole week, and they did not look good at all. No one really looked good. The only ones I actually thought were playing decently. You could argue Xsmithy had an okay series. I think Huhi actually looked pretty solid considering what he was given. And Stixay played very, very well. Everyone else was garbage. Darshan was really not good. His TPs were terrible, especially when he was playing Jace in the second game in a game where CLG did something a little bit differently. They were attempting to put together a full damage composition, which would have shut down Team Liquid early and then allowed them to push for a very early victory. They weren't able to accomplish any of the things they wanted to. They were able to get picks and get some kills, but they were so dirty and messy that they would often give up an equal number of kills and maybe get an objective out of it. So they were getting very small increments of gold above Team Liquid until it came to the point where they were sieging and they just got aced and did it again, and the game was over at that point. There was nothing they were going to be able to do. Lorlo played very, very well against Darshan as well. Just a really bad overall series from them. The upside to the week, I guess, was the fact that they were able to play against Envy, which all of us have picked as the absolute worst team in NA, and I still think that holds very true. They played well. I mean, not really well. It was still very clear that they're not all together. They don't have a very clear grasp of the meta. Aphromoo is an excellent support. He's very good at vision. He has insane micro ability. However, he's always been very good on champions that allow him to play make. Right now in the meta, you're not seeing a hell of a lot of play making. So, you pick someone who's basically got a very clear all-in potential or just a shit ton of damage, and he's never been like that. So this is a huge issue for them, is they have to acclimate to new meta. They've never started well. I don't think there's been a single season when CLG actually looked good when they started out. So they've got to figure out how to actually get back on track and figure out what the hell's going on. Otherwise, this looks like a very middle of the pack, like playoff fringe team.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, cool. Wouldn't you say, Duffy, that by the end of this week, who would you say looked a little bit better, Ryu or Huhi?
I honestly would say they looked pretty equal. I think Ryu got shit on in lane twice in a row. Huki didn't lose lane a single time. In fact, he won lane a bunch of times. And in team fights, Huhi was very good and Ryu were both very good.
All right, cool.
So I'd say
talk to me about next week. You've got FlyQuest and you've got Cloud9. A super hard week.
That is a fucking hard week.
I really
so
like.
Rough.
I love the FlyQuest game is going to be really interesting. That's the first game of the entire NA LCS. I think this is really going to put it on the map of whether or not CLG's got their shit together, because FlyQuest is definitely a team that understands what they have to do to win. They understand they have weaknesses, but they're able to overcome them with other play, and their macro play is honestly very, very good.
Which is a CLG kind of thing too. So that's why I'm actually really excited.
It's a very similar thing, yeah. And they even have a very similar sort of lineup in that they have an underperforming, not so great top laner. They have a jungler who I think Xsmithy is much better than Moon, but Moon's been looking pretty decent. Hai is a very similar mold to Huhi. They both tend to play. They were well known for their assassin level play.
How dare you?
But their macro play is both.
What the fuck?
All right. Let's so CLG's, I mean, it's kind of like TSM in the sense where there's still a lot of questions about exactly where they're going to fall and how well they're going to be able to adapt to these new teams and players that they're going to be facing off against. But let's talk about another team who hasn't quite been able to adapt as well in the same pot, and the last of our 1-1s for North America. And Chris, I'm going to challenge you to not go as long as Immortals did, because goddamn.
Oh my god, no.
6 games.
If you guys wanted to waste 6
ports.
hours this weekend, this was a great way to waste 6 fucking hours on
Immortals.
these series. Oh my god. This just sucked to watch, I'm not going to lie. These were between TSM and Fox, these were the sloppiest games I think I've ever really seen in the last while. Like, this was just, oh my god, was this awful. So, I am going to go ahead and put the argument out here that I think Immortals is the worst team out here so far. The only reason I think that they're doing okay is because of Flame. I think Flame has a possibility, but I think Dardoch and Pobelter are going full retard. Cody's son is just like, he does stuff, but he gets caught, and then I don't even know who really their support does or who he is on this point. Just because the games are so long, he just dies immediately by late game anyway, so it's like, well, you don't need to know his name. So what happens? Ollie, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I do know his name. So anyway, so I do actually know his name. It's not pointed out there, but it's just like, God, these are so long. So these games basically just go on so long, like their strategy is just to just not lose until 52 minutes, and then hopefully Flame can get a quadra kill and then just win the game. And it's pretty much how they were able to win a couple of these games. Specifically the first game against Fox, like Flame actually just went ham as they were trying to push in on their team, and Flame just killed everybody. It was actually one of those, you thought it was going to go for Fox, and then all of a sudden you look up at the scoreboard and everybody's dead on Fox, and Flame's just standing there like, what's up, bro? Completely outplayed Faker in a way with his gold card on TF. That was just really strange to watch. But anyway, so there's just like none of these games, I guess I should say, on this Fox thing. We have let's see, I'll give you the game stamp on them. 48 minutes and 57 seconds, 43 minutes and 16 seconds, and 48 minutes. Like, all of them get to the point where it doesn't even matter what the games really went down to. It was just who could win the last team fight. And it so sucks to watch.
To take a small tangent off of that, just to piggyback off that point, I think that games are actually going quite a bit longer on average. I think they're going a little too long, personally.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit in the chat, which was, is this too long for a competitive League of Legends thing? And that might be something we talk about later.
Well, in some cases, I say no. Like when you're actually watching a game be competitive, like how some of the games were with C9 or FlyQuest, where you can see the two strategies of each team and how they kind of butt heads. Zignitas too as well, when the games are clean. But when they're just clusterfucks and somebody smites Baron too early and you just lose the game off of that, it's just like, oh my God. Yeah. Like the TSM game. Like the TSM game was just so fucking sloppy. Like I will not ever forget the stupid where they tried to expecate it at the very end. This was basically just Immortals had a free game to win and they just gave TSM the win by just playing stupidly and greedy.
Bridget's got a pretty embarrassing series of photos of me literally jumping off of the couch and fucking like
when TSM won that, yeah. I just couldn't. It was just so bad.
Fucking hyped, sitting on the floor like a 12-year-old watching TSM.
Like they put Flame on the tank, Maokai, which was just awful. 0-7 and 8 on Maokai with Flame, which is just like, I mean, it makes sense to play the Maokai, but you do have Flame. Like Flame is capable of carrying the game. But what essentially happens at that very final team fight, which pretty much is going to sum it up for me with the Immortals, because it's what they look like in one general team fight. They have Baron. They have pretty much an open Nexus. They're walking up to the team. Loop or Flame just walks in, 5v1, and Maokai is huge and all at 52 minutes and 3 seconds, but he gets 5v1, immediately dies, and then somehow Cody's son's walking up like, hey guys, I hear we're team fighting, I'm Varus, I can throw out my ult, gets immediately hit by Nautilus, blows the fuck up, the support does exactly what I said does, dies immediately, and then all of a sudden you have Pobelter and Dardoch being like, we can teleport in, and we can kill the Nexus, and we'll win the game, guys. No, it goes horribly. They immediately die, because everybody just on TSM is smart enough to realize, hey, guys, we should back. Kills all of them, and they die horribly. It was just, it was so just face-palming the whole time.
I'd actually say the biggest weakness that Immortals has right now seems to be their shot caller, who is Dardoch.
Yeah, Dardoch is struggling pretty hard, which I knew you were just going to be so happy about.
Ole could only play one champion.
Let Mark finish his point, and then we can shit on it. Come on, guys.
Well, no, like it just seems like, I mean, like Dardoch proved that he is still a very good jungler. In his early game against TSM, he had some really great scores against Fox in the games that they won. But like you can clearly see, like physically, he shows his tilt. Like he does.
That's what I was about to say. He tilts so hard, like
and when you have clear communication errors to the point where you're missing bans, like that's a super big problem for a team. Like to have your shot caller be susceptible to tilt. Like as soon as people get Immortal's number and says like, oh, shit on Dardoch, shit on the rest of the game. Like it's gonna cause problems for this roster. But let's bunny hop.
Shit on the Dar
Can I
Dog,
ask
shit
a
on the
quick
world.
question on
Save the cheerleader. Save the world.
Let's hop down into the bottom tier so we can eventually move on to Europe, because there is a lot to talk about in Europe, I think.
I want to ask a quick Immortals question.
Yeah.
Just why is Ole only playing Morgana?
Give him his comforts.
He played Malzahar in this.
He did have some pretty good bindings. I mean, Morgana's not an unacceptable pick right now.
Well, he's the only one playing it. Yeah, I've seen it nowhere else other than him playing it, and he's played it. He played it like 5 games.
Let me tell you why. Because Immortals had a single scrim block together before LCS started.
Yeah,
Ole wasn't in the house until the day before LCS.
Yeah,
which is exactly what this looks like. If you're having that big
of a communication error, put somebody on their most comfortable champion and let them be like a decent player. Which I think that's where a lot of teams are right now, where it's like, okay, individually, how good is your skill, and is this enough to take us through a game? Right. If it's yes, success. If it's no, failure. Yeah.
If they only had one scrim block, that makes complete sense then. I thought Ole had been there a little bit longer.
Yeah.
No, he literally just showed up. I think it was literally the day before LCS is when he finally came to the house. It was visa issues. It's always visa issues.
Just to kind of cut Immortals off here. Cloud9, Chris.
I think Cloud9 will slaughter them.
How about Envy though?
Oh God, I think that's going to be an hour and a half long each game. I think it's going to be a 5-hour set. Because I think what's going to happen is that Immortals is going to dominate the first half of that game and be like, wait, do we kill this Nexus or do you just watch it just for a while and then we just lose it? Which is pretty much what their strategy is.
Mod, after you ask that question, I want you to just fucking edit in